May I request our honorable speakers to kindly take their respective seats on the dais. It is my privilege by the way of tax modeling, including providing strategic inputs on tax controversies.
Back. Your back. Your control.
Tax. He has also undertaken technical sessions in study circles on various topics under the service tax regime. He has started his own practice in 2011 and currently acting as a partner in AMR and Co. and taking care of indirect tax matters including representations before appellate authorities. I would request Mr. Tribhuvan Tyagi, Head of the Department, BBA Program of ITM Institute, to present a memento to Mr. Ashish Gupta.
I will be taking you through a small presentation on supply chain. Till now what we have seen is the dual GST model. What is this GST model is all about? Why there is a dual GST model? Why we need a constitutional amendment? The presentation that I am going to do now is more from the industry perspective. What is there for the industry? When I say supply chain, how GST is going to impact the industry at large. Now this is how we have structured our presentation. I will be discussing very quickly on the international experience. What has happened in different countries where GST was implemented? What is the contribution of indirect tax to the Indian economy? What are the major concepts in GST? Then we will be talking about the impact of GST. What Mr. Bakul Gupta has said in his last slide, is this the last reform this country is going to see, or there is something more? So what is the future of GST? Then we will be talking about the indirect tax function of an industry. If you are working for in an industry in indirect tax, what is that GST is going to throw on you? What are the challenges and benefits of GST? And how far we are ready for GST? What is there that we need to do to get ourselves prepared for GST? Of GST, but when GST is going to come, that is a $1 million question. I will try to answer it in the recent geopolitics on GST. What is my view on that? And in the last, we will take what are the 10 steps our industry should take at the moment to ensure that we are ready for GST. If I go to the international experience, the first thing, what Ms. Amrita was talking about, the rates. What should be the rate? And Amrita has correctly put a question mark when it talks about India. If you look at the global trend, worldwide the average rate of GST is 16.4%. Asia Pacific 9.88%. European Union 19.4%. Africa 15.95%. And South America 16%. Norway was one of the countries which has got the highest rate, and Amrita is mentioned in this slide as well. The highest rate is Norway, Sweden and Denmark, whereas the lowest rate is Nigeria and Canada. If you look to the government recommendations, the central government recommendations, they are saying that we will start with 20%, 10 for CGST and 10 for SGST. Next year we will bring it to 18 and then 16. And 16 is the rate they want to stabilize. If that is so, we are exactly where the world is. If you look to the world average is 16.4, and if you are talking of 16 in 3 years' time, that is absolutely bullseye, absolutely correct what the government of India is talking about. There is a concept worldwide which is known as VRR, which is nothing but VAT revenue ratio. Now, what is this VAT revenue ratio? This ratio tells you how pure VAT you have in your country. Say for example, in a country you have collected 100 crores as your indirect tax or the VAT. Assuming that, hypothetically, assuming that all the transactions are taxed at a standard rate and it comes to 125. If I divide 100 by 125, it comes to 0.8. That means the efficiency is 80%. Either there are exemptions, there are concessional rate, or you are not able to collect the tax. That what does it indicate? If you are closer to 1, if you are able to collect 112, total collection, maximum collection can be 125, you collected 112, you are working at 90% efficiency. But the further you go away from 1, the poorer the system is. This is the system that tells us what is a country VRR. Now, if I go to the international experience, this is going to teach us a lot of things. See, Australia implemented in July 2000, New Zealand in October 1986, Canada in January 1991. These months are important. There is a reason why I am talking of the months. See the financial year. What is the financial year? Like in India, we have got April to March. We have in Australia July to June, October, July to June. In Canada, April to March. Now go back to the first line. Australia implemented in July 2000. That means they implemented GST at the start of the financial year. An answer to or indication to us. The indication is there is no need for the government of India to wait for a financial year to start to implement GST. It can be end of a quarter. The government can go forward and say, you want to implement GST. And is it a time-tested thing? Yes, it is a time-tested thing. So that is one of the learnings we get from the international experience. What happened to prices when GST is introduced? You see, in all the 3 countries, in short run the prices went up. And in the long run the prices went down. In India, what happened to the revenue? In all the 3 countries you see revenue exceeded the expectations. When India is going to introduce GST, there is no doubt that we are going to exceed, the government of India is going to get much more revenue which they are talking about. What happened to the current account? Slight improvement in Australia, rapid immediate improvement in New Zealand, drastic improvement in Canada in the current account. If we take these 3 as a base, which went up in 2013-14, which is budget estimate to this time. Customs is outside of GST net, so it won't be impacted. Central excise, it was 102 and it went to 197. There is a jump of around 94% in 5 years' time. Look to service tax. It was 58,000 crores and now we are at 1,80,000 crores. There is going to be a huge collection from service tax to the government of India. Now very quickly I will take you what is the impact or what is going to be the impact on the Indian economy when GST is implemented. These are assumptions of this is the government assumptions. If you want to see, these are mentioned on page number 94 of the 13th Finance Commission report. GDP, they are saying it will grow at the rate of 0.9 to 1.7%, which correspond to on the view that the present economy where we are, we will grow by 30 to 60%. That is the growth we are talking about. export gain around 5.4 to 10.7 billion. This is what we are talking about, export gains. Overall, you see the prices are going to come down and the employment will increase by 4 to 5 million. That is what the employment will increase. So GST is nothing but a win-win situation for the Indian economy in any case. What is the need of an hour? You are looking forward to the biggest tax, indirect tax reform this country has ever witnessed. This is going to be the biggest tax reform the country has ever witnessed. In such a scenario, what is the learning we get from the other part of the world? We should learn from those people who have got more experience. What is OECD guidelines? They are talking about 4-5 things. They are saying certainty. Certainty is one of the canons of taxation. What Mr. Mukul Gupta ji has also said in his presentation. Everybody wants to pay tax, but one should be certain. What? How much tax I have to pay? Certainty should be there. That is one. Second, distortion of competition. The state should not fight among themselves. The destination-based system, whatever I explained. So, getting business houses on date if you are importing, that will become a set-off for you. Impact positive. So GST is going to bring a positive impact on procurement. Elimination of central excise duty and national calamity contingent liability duties. If they get eliminated, impact positive. Credit of input services for trading business, which they are not getting, they will get, impact positive. CST eliminated, impact positive. Now, let's go down to the supply chain structuring. Before I take you to the next slide, what is supply chain? Supply chain means if you are a manufacturer, you are buying a raw material from one place, you are manufacturing it and then you are selling. So your procurement, manufacture and distribution. These three things makes a supply chain. So what is the impact of the complete supply chain when GST is introduced? Historically, what has happened? Procurement has always been, which I think one of the speakers, I am not sure who has taken this point, this point has been taken that people buy based on the tax. I would like to buy from a place where I am getting a goods at a lower rate of tax, historically. Since if I want to put up a factory, I would like to go to a place which has got some holidays going on, some tax exemptions going on, historically. Distribution. I would like to open, if suppose I want my customers in all the 28 states. I would like to open up a small warehouse in different places so that I can make a stock transfer and then sell. So that my buyer can get a set off, historically. So if you see historically, your procurement, your manufacturing and your distribution, all the three things are based on tax. Wherever I am getting a tax benefit, I do my calculation accordingly, and it's because the tax is same across the country. Wherever you go in India, the tax are the same. If the tax are the same, it hardly matters from where I am buying. Then the relevant factors are reliability of a supplier, pricing and logistics, risk implication, quality of a raw material. So what business has to do, business has to concentrate on these factors which can give you economy, which can lower down the cost of procurement rather than looking toward the tax. So the old system that I have to save my tax is gone. There is a sea change in the thought process. What will happen to manufacturing? As on date, it is a fiscal incentives. If I am getting some incentive in a backward area, I will go. What I will not take into account is infrastructure or availability, connectivity and setup cost. But if there is no incentive, the tax are same across the country, then these factors become primary factors which can bring in economies to me. My cost will come down. The moment my costs are going to come down, the economy is going to benefit. even in international market to become more competitive. And that is why we are saying that exports will be benefited if GST comes in. Distribution. What is happening is on day. We get n number of warehouses in different states because we want to cater them. And then make a local sale. Yes, you talk to any industry. You go to Hindustan Lever, they are fully ready. You talk to Reliance, they are ready with their GST panel. Why these people are so happy about GST? Why they want GST to come in? Because there are savings in logistic and distribution costs. The industry is very upbeat. The last slide of Mr. Mukul Gupta, is that the last reform? This is the last thing we are talking about. The answer is no. Government of India has not spoken about the draft which is there. They have not talked, not only to my sales team, not only to my marketing team, but to the distributors. We had conferences at different states where the Pepsi distributors were asked to come, wholesalers were asked to come, and we did a presentation to teach them how I am going to raise the invoice on you, how you are going to take credit, and how you are going to raise the invoice. Because those people are not educated people. You need to, industry need to educate them. So these are the stakeholders who need training. Not only your people, your industry guys, but these people also require training. Then comes the accounting, ERP system. Your accounting should be geared up for the GST. This is a very basic slide which says what you should do. If GST is coming, we all know GST is coming. What you should do. The first is mapping. Mapping says that from wherever you are buying, wherever you are manufacturing, and whatever your model of sales, just map on a piece of paper and write down what is the tax you are paying. After putting down what is the tax, replace this tax with the GST rates and the model that the government is talking about, you will come to know what is the impact on your industry. Once you know what is the impact and plan, that is the phase 3, plan and implement, and the last phase is go live. You don't need any consultant as such to teach you these things. These are the fundamental things. You require outside help only when you feel that you do not have hands to do these jobs. Now this is a slide which is going to help me actually in coming to a conclusion when GST will be implemented. We are in favor of GST. Nobody should have any doubts regarding it. What does Congress has to say? In the manifesto which they have come up, 100 days manifesto, introduce the goods and service tax bill in Parliament and ensure they are enacted within a year. This is what Congress has to say. What CII has to say? 100-day agenda for the new government includes introduction of goods and service tax, CII. What does Times of India manifesto say? Government should introduce goods and service tax without delay. What does PTI, Press Trust of India, has to say? Implementing tax reforms like DTC and GST are some of the suggestions by associates for inclusion in manifesto of political parties. So what does it tell us? If I take, industry is already ready, industry wants to come, political consensus was not there. What we have seen in the last two slides, I believe that GST should be seeing the light in India by 1st of April 2016, if not in 2015. If we go a bit more aggressive, GST administration, documents, compliance and procedures, accounting, ERP systems, liaison with customers and suppliers, training of stakeholders, and the transition. These are the simple 10 steps industry need to take now to get geared up for the GST. That is all from my side. Thank you so much. The guy's presentation. Pankaj has been trained in GST in Singapore and he has worked with me as well on GST. So I want to thank Pankaj for his.
Similarly, if we talk about the state VAT, there are 96 items which are exempt from VAT, of which 50 are items which are goods of national importance and 46 are those of state importance. Again, one are subject to concessional rate of VAT. The important point which I am trying to highlight with this data is that around 500 plus items released in the public domain for comments from the industry, it becomes really difficult to get many things changed over there. So it is very important for all of us to ensure that if you want to enjoy your concessional taxes which you are applying in representation with the government, in order to ensure that your concessional rates and exemptions are there under the GST regime as well. The second important point over here is, if we see a lot of information in public domain which is available, this is based on the finding that if we see number of dealers whose annual turnover is around 10-15 lakhs or less than 15 lakhs, they are around 65% in India. And those 65% dealers account for just 3% of the total revenue collection. So thereby the IMPART committee is thinking now that the threshold limit should exceed to 25 lakhs. Another important point is that the government is thinking of coming up with a composition scheme under GST law, wherein any person whose turnover is less than 60 lakhs can approach it for a composition scheme of GST, wherein the rate of tax will be 0.5% CGST and 0.5% SGST. No other compliances need to be undertaken. Normal return filing will be there, annual return filing. So this will be a strong boost for the small scale industry sector, wherein the people have to face a lot of compliance burden and have to face the incomes from the department. Now I'll move to the various parts of my presentation. So I'm not touching upon those topics which have already been dealt by Prashant. I'll just talk about those topics which have either been not dealt with or may not have been found relevant per se by Prashant over there. So when we talk about what is kept outside the ambit of GST, alpha services and export of services, and the interstate supply of goods and interstate supply of services. So in all imports, this IGST will be creditable to any person who is paying GST on its output level. So as compared to the tax cost which is built in the system today, at many points of time, this tax cost will no more be there under the GST regime. Because of the hub, with any they are talking about how the royalty, license fee, etc. will be treated under the GST regime. Similarly, when I talk about import of services, in the import of services, with the negative list coming into play, we all are aware that import of services, whether a service will qualify as import or not, will be determined in terms of the place of fraudulent services. Probably the government is thinking of adopting the similar rules on the similar lines which will be continued under the GST regime for determining what is the place of performance of service. So to that extent, as far as the industry is concerned, there are a lot of things which the industry will already be ready for, given they have already implemented place of provision of service rules under the negative list regime. The important point over here is how the R&D cess and the credibility of R&D cess will be dealt in under the GST regime, onto which there is no clarity as of date. Similarly, the biggest issue which the industry people will face is a state level compliance as compared to a central level compliance which is being undertaken still. So today, if my clients or the industries are registered with the service tax department are having a centralized premises registration, in that particular case, they have to file a single return while they are operating in many states. Whereas under the GST regime, they will have to file return each state wherein they are operating in. When I talk about export of goods, the most important point in case of export of goods is that though export of goods, the zero rating in case of export of goods will continue. What will happen? Interstate supply of goods. Interstate supply of goods will become more important because as to which state we need to pay taxes will need to be determined in terms of place of provision of supply rules. Again, these place of provision of supply rules have still not been released by the government or the comment by the industry. What will be the valuation of the stock transfer? So today stock transfers are not subject to any tax. Under the GST regime, these stock transfers will be subject to GST. What will happen to the stock transfers, on what value an industrial player will have to levy GST is something which is our question mark as of today. When we talk about interstate supply of services, I specifically told that in case of interstate supply of services, the important or the plain area for the industry will be as compared to the single compliance today, there will be multiple compliances at a state level. At the same time, it is foreseen that when the new place of provision of service rules will come for interstate supply of services, there will be two types of transactions which the government will be dealing with. Something similar to European law. B2B transaction, that is business to business supplies, and business to consumer supplies. In both these scenarios, the place of provision of service may be different under the GST regime. Though the nature of service may be same, but it will depend upon who is the ultimate customer, basis which it will be determined as to which state will pay GST on services. So I'm not talking about the constitutional amendment because that has been dealt by the earlier speakers. The other impact areas of business which Prashant was talking about, I just like to put some light on that particular part. That the business needs to ensure that how they will be dealing with their new supply chain, the credit flows. So it will require a business restructuring in entirety. So from the various warehouses in various states, the business may look into a mother and spoke model wherein there is a mother warehouse in 3 or 4 regions and there are various spokes attached to it from where the supplies are happening under the GST. Operating in those state area-based incentive scheme, something similar to Himachal Pradesh, Bhatti, etc. What will happen to the incentives which have been granted to those particular industries? Or to that extent, industries which are operating in Maharashtra and getting a package incentive scheme, what will happen to the incentives which have been bestowed upon them by the state governments under the current regime? Whether those incentives will be available to them in the GST regime as well, or no, or what will happen? There is no clarity and the industry is not at all having any idea as to what the government decision will be as far as those state level incentives are concerned. With this, I'll end my presentation, and the last part which I'll say over here is that the industry should effectively liaise with the government today rather than waiting for the draft bill to come into play and thereafter start liaising. Because government also takes its own time. There's a huge chain of hierarchy which governments have to follow in order to change any part of the section or the bill, be it draft or be it implemented. Thank you.
We have already learned to remove the structural part of GST, the rates and all. So what area I'll be touching up in this presentation is like the impact of GST on the retail industry and the ideal rate of GST which is prevalent in central and in states. At the state level, excise duty on alcohol, sales tax, entry tax, there are multiple taxes. So there are multiple structures have been there in current existing current tax system. Some tax which we say cascading in part of tax, like if we charge central sales tax or VAT on excise duty, that is the double taxation part. Then there is certain taxes were not allowed to be utilized as credit. Then there are uniform laws and incidental laws. There is no uniformity. There are multiple standards, and that is allowed. So that's why the cost of the product, all the services is being inflated. So what should be the structure at the GST? I would say either it be single or it is dual. That the structure should be designed in a manner which should address all these shortcomings which are being faced in the current indirect tax constituency we have. The dual tax credit structure is being proposed by should have a common tax base, should have classification of goods and services should be eliminated because the dispute is always there wherever we say, and on services we are charging 12%. So any rate which is in between these two rates, 12% or 45%, would be a good rate for the GST, but the rate should be fixed in a manner which should not inflate the inflation, should not move the inflation, and the second part, it should not be fixed as low, which should affect the fiscal deficit also. So the government has to look at both the parameters also while fixing the rates. If we have already discussed the rates in the other part of the world, the rates which will be coming from first year to third year, they will be charging like 20%, then 18% and 16%. So the idea is the GST is not an additional measure to collect the revenue. It's only an attempt to reform all the existing tax structure into one. So it should be like the rate should be fixed which are revenue neutral. So like the revenue for the government should be equal, which is collected through all these taxes which will be subsumed in the CGST and SGST. It should be same as it now. So there is a report from the task force committee which has done the calculation for revenue neutral rate, and it comes to 12%, and they suggested central GST for 5% and state GST as 7%. They have done the calculation based on the data of for the financial years 2007-8. Now the 4 or 5 years have been passed, so definitely 12% might go increase. This calculation might change for the revenue neutral rate. So this is the tax rate which is being proposed by the finance minister, which will go from 20% from the first year to 16% to the second and third year. They have proposed lower rate for the basic necessities goods and standard rate for the normal goods, and for services there is a single rate. There is also a composition which Mr. Saurabh has already talked about. So this is all about the tax which is to be charged over and above the price of the commodity or the service. So there is a new concept which is being followed, currently being followed under VAT regime for the medicines, which says the product pricing should be done in a manner which is inclusive of all the taxes. So under current tax regime, we are following exclusive tax regime. So there are chances that the customer don't take the invoice from the retailer or from the shop just because the VAT will be levied on extra. So they are not willing to pay extra amount just for taking the invoice. So there are chances for tax evasion, and there are also there are chances of tax evasion by way of not recording these transactions or undervaluing these transactions. Also, government has time to time shared spend a lot of money on advertising, on spreading their words. The invoices should be taken by the customers, and this is for the betterment of for the whole country. But these all efforts are not giving that much of returns. So what is being suggested? Mentioned tax inclusive pricing. Like for example, I have discussed example over here. Under current tax system, if we price a goods like 1,000 rupees, and which is exclusive tax, and 10% is the tax rate, so 100 rupees will be the tax amount. in the proposed tax system, which is like inclusive tax pricing, which will say the price should be like 1100 and tax should be charged 9 to 1%, which will give same amount of tax revenue to the government. And if we follow this system, the consumer or the customer will not hesitate in taking these ones, and so all the transactions happening under sales or the goods or services will get recorded, and the government will get the revenue what they are looking for. So now comes to the retail part. What there are multiplicity of taxes and cascading effect of taxes. Like if a retailer is sitting in UP and buying a product from Delhi or Haryana, then from a manufacturer, then the manufacturer will charge excise duty on its sale. He will charge CST on its sales. So there is a multiplicity of taxes. Then in UP, entry tax will also be paid by the shopkeeper or the retailer. Products from Delhi, some products from other parts of the country. So there are different laws, different reforms, different tax rates are being followed at different states. So there is a uniformity missing. The uniformity is not there between the states itself. So what benefit they will be getting from the GST? The first thing, all the taxes, all the trade taxes, most of the trade taxes will get subsumed under CGST and CGST. Then the cascading effect of taxes will be removed. No tax on tax will be charged, so the cost of production, cost of procurement will get reduced. They allow like Senate can be adjusted through VAT liability, so excise duty or CST, everything will be can be adjusted through VAT liability. So then cost which the tax liability which was earlier becoming the part of the cost of the retailer will now be passed on, will now be adjusted through their VAT liability. And third one, all these states are going to follow the same procedures, same rules. So uniformity will come back, and the retailer will definitely not have to file the C forms or any other forms formality which is currently being followed. Let us take an example like if a retail chain buys toothpaste or a toothbrush from two different parts of the country, from two manufacturers. And what he does, he make a package of these toothpaste and toothbrush in one, and they sold it in their retail store. So what happens? As per current laws, in excise, we talk about excise, any packaging or relabeling or labeling or repackaging will turn to manufacture activity. For certain category of goods, the packaging and relabeling will turn to excisable activity. So, what will happen in current regime? Excise duty on that package, whatever price he is selling, he has to pay on that product. So there is a multiple tax, and tax on tax will be there. So the price of the product will definitely increase. So what will happen in GST? So whenever there is a supply, the tax will be charged. So in this case, in the current case, any activity which is like packing or retailing will not be treated as a taxable event, because it is a taxable event is not for supply. So whenever the retailer will sell the product, then only he has to pay tax. So excise element will not be a tax. So this is GST is helping the retail sector only, because the cascading effect of taxes will be. I have taken some examples for comparing the pricing structure before GST and the post GST. Let's understand what is being done currently. Suppose from a factory imported, the cost will be 1120. Now the retail shop added some value to it, and for rupees 500, the accessible value comes to 1640. So VAT will be levied at 5% to 81. the sale value will be 1701. So total outflow, if you say take for the factory and the retail shop, our factory was paying 176 for the excise and VAT, and at the shop we will pay 81 minus 56, that is 45 rupees. So total will come to 201. Now what will happen in GST? The factory 1000 rupees. I have taken the rate of GST at 8% for both the central and state. So 80 rupees will be levied for GST. So cost will be like 1160. But since the retail store will be able to adjust that 160 rupees of GST against its liability, that will not become the cost of its product. So cost price will be same 1000 rupees. Value added 500, 1500 is the accessible value, and again SGST levied at 8%, 120, so 1620. So there is a difference in the sale value at the retail store. Earlier it is 1700 just because of the tax input was not available. And if we go to the GST regime, it is 1620. 80 rupees, there is gap of 80 rupees in the pricing only. Just because of the effect of input tax credit which is available now under GST. Almost tax outflow is almost same. And second thing here, the retail shopkeeper, shop owner will also be able to adjust the service tax which is being paid on its various services. The GST paid on the services also. Here I have taken input of the products of the commodity only. He will be allowed to take credit of the GST which is being paid on the services also. So there might be chances where the prices of the product will come down more extent. This transaction is for within the state transaction, and there is one more example for interstate transaction where CST will be levied. Here we will be saving some more amount. You can see the example, the sale value at the retail shop is 1725 and sale value at the retail shop under GST will be 1620. So there will be a gap of rupees 105 in case of interstate transactions. So that was the retail sector. I would like to put some light on the impact of GST on food items also. So there are three. I have just divided the food items into three parts. One is unprocessed food. Unprocessed food like fruits, vegetables, and all grains and all. So they are currently being exempt. So and it is expected that they will be continue to be exempted from GST. Packaged processed food charging 4% or 5%, and some states are charging 12%. So, but there are reports from the ministry that they might exempt these products from the GST, but there is no clear picture. As of now, these products will continue to charge like other retail products as we have discussed. Service tax is also being charged on the restaurant services. So, both the taxes will be charged under GST also, SGST and CGST, depending on the threshold limits. Now, what would be the impact of GST on service sector? In 2012, we have already seen a lot of changes happening in the service tax laws. Currently, the threshold is 10 lakhs, and which is being adopted by for state CGST, which is being adopted 10 lakhs. But for CGST on services, there is no threshold has been proposed. But it is said that it will be please at higher at par with the goods, which is like 1.5 crores, which has been proposed by committee. Now, if there is a difference between the threshold of state and center for charging service for charging GST on services, so there will be a there will be different tax incidents on same services provided by different service providers. If a service provider falling, having turnover more than 1.9 turnover, then you will charge only SGST. So there will be a difference if the threshold limit is fixed for differently for SGST and SCGST. Different threshold limits are right. So there will be a tax incident that will be different for both service providers. At the end, I have mentioned few of the benefits which will be enjoyed by the business class, business people, customers, and for the economy. The compliances will be simplified. The cascading effect will be removed. There will be free flow of tax credit. Then customers will enjoy the reduced price, the transparency in tax. Overall tax incidence will be definitely will come down. In economy, there will be a boost in the economy, as we have already said. The GDP will increase even after the introduction of GST.
For the states, central excise and customs are based on HSN, which is the worldwide way of classifying and putting a tax. Whereas unfortunately VAT or the earlier sales tax was not an HSN. Now under the GST regime, it has to be an HSN system. All the product has to come down on HSN. When I was talking about a VRR formula, the formula is based upon that we will have minimum concessions, we will have minimum exemptions. Then only we can have a pure VAT what world knows about. If you look to the other part of the world, there are only 3 rates: standard rate, concessional rate, and exempt rates. There is nothing else. And very few items they try to put as less as possible in the other buckets. Most of the things are on standard rates. If you look to the European Union, if you go through the law, European Union has laid down a playing field. It is like a football field. They said that your rates should be between 12 to 20%. Say for example, that is what India need to adopt. The challenge is, if you look to food items, there are number of ways the food is taxed. If it is a raw material, say for example raw food or raw vegetables, no tax. Same vegetable cut into pieces, frozen, sold in Easy Day or some other place, you will see there is a tax. If you buy potato chips, there is a different tax. If you go to a restaurant, there is a different tax. So if I say I put food as standard rate, is it possible? The poor people, we do have, we are not a rich country first of all. There are number. If we put a standard rate on food, that will be again the very basic concepts of canons of taxation. We cannot. If the government of India cannot do that, then what is the option left with them? The option left is just to play with these 3 things. Something has to be no standard. If you are going to a 5-star hotel, you are going to buying a raw vegetable, you should be there. So the genesis is not there. The government is working on it. What Saurabh was talking about, the exemption and things, the empowered committee is working on these type of things. The problem that is coming up is, say cooking. If you go to South, they use coconut oil in everything. For them that is the staple food. Rice is a staple food. How to tax rice? If you come to North India, wheat is a staple food. Rice is not a staple food. So the challenge is the state governments are coming up. Say for example, clothes. If you live to a cloth, somebody is staying in Chennai or South India, cotton is something they want. Either there should be no tax or it should be exempt, or it should be lower rate of tax. So every state finance minister was asked, please give what is the rate of tax you want or a concessional rate you want. Now the problem is that every state finance minister is going to give a long list. So the whole idea of having a standardized rates will go haywire. That is the challenge the government is facing.
Pudding.
Obviously, government is working on it, government is working on it, and we are definitely going to come up with some ways to tag the different type of it. That taxing the good is not such an easy job as very soon GST will come in this country, very soon. Time is very less, we need to act fast. That is what we are trying to put through this presentation, what Ashish was trying to put forward. Any questions, please?
Difference between GST and VAT?
Yeah, I understand. No, under the VAT, it's a totally different regime. Under the VAT, we have got different type of taxes or different sales, it is sales tax. These type of things won't be there in the GST. They are saying that we are going to tax every transaction, irrespective it is manufactured or sale. If it is a supply, if I give certain goods to you, supply certain goods to you, there should be a tax. Second difference is, there are certain things on which you do not get a set off. Set off means that if you are buying certain things, I have paid the tax on the purchases, but I do not get credit under the regime that we have today. But under the GST, whatever tax I pay on buying the goods, I should get 100% credit for that. That is the basic difference between the two.
Meaning, sir, the country would be affected by the dual GST. My question is that export and import of goods and services into the country could be affected by the dual GST model.
Qualify as export, whether a particular transaction will qualify as export or not, will need to be determined in terms of place of provision of supply stroke service goods. So there will be place of provision of supply and service goods, which will determine whether a service provided by an Indian service provider to a foreign party located outside India, to a foreign entity registered outside India, and an Indian entity registered in India, whether the transaction between these two persons will be considered to be a transaction in India or it will be considered to be a transaction outside India. So for those purposes, government will come up with the rules and thereby they will determine how the taxation will work on those transactions.
Is it an export? The issue was there is no destination. This lubricant will be consumed while the ship is going to Germany. I have sold the goods in the territory of India. The goods have been sold. There is no destination. It will be used. Can I say it's an export? These type of issues were there in the past. Goods. There will be rules for that. For goods as well as for services, there will be rules. Only then GST can come into picture, and those are going to define what is an export. And if it is an export, the fundamental point always remember that there is going to be no tax. No country levies any tax on exports. So there won't be any tax on exports in any case.
Good afternoon, sir. If we pay the road tax, then why do we need to pay the toll tax?
For the benefit of all, your road tax is never a part of GST or the VAT. They are local levies, municipal levies. And they will never form part of GST in the future also. And this is the partnership that the government has with the private players who invest their money in making roads. And they are, the collection which they are getting is a part of the money. So it has got nothing to do with GST or the VAT as such. It's a different model altogether, it will remain there.
So what my question is, what are the terms on which GST may not be applied?
Sorry, I forgot it.
what are the terms on which GST may not be applied?
Question once again.
What are the terms on which GST may not be applied?
No, the exemption list section there will be no GST. So there will be a list which says on these transactions there will be no GST.
Or to our valedictory speaker, Mr. Harsh Kumar. Mr. Harsh Kumar, presenting
से नहीं आ सका। मार्च एंडिंग होने के कारण में समझ नहीं आ रहा। सेकंड सेशन में ऐसे में बहुत सारे आपके अनुभव से आपने जो विचार व्यक्त किए उससे लाभान्वित हुए। बर्निंग पॉइंट्स बहुत सारे हैं जिस पर हमें यहाँ उपस्थित रहने तो हमें ज़्यादा फायदा होगा। फिर भी आप लोगों ने जो आपके स्टूडेंट्स हैं MBA के, मैं समझता हूँ जो ये बेसिक क्या GST है, जैसे क्वेश्चन वर्क बैक GST में क्या फर्क है, उससे बेसिक नॉलेज इनको हुआ होगा और उससे लाभान्वित हुए। आगे आने वाले सेशन में जहाँ कहीं भी होगा या जो भी इसमें मटेरियल पेपर्स में छपेंगे उससे आपको बेसिक नॉलेज हो गया, आप इससे लाभान्वित होंगे। अभी प्रोसीजर पे और हम भी कोशिश करेंगे कि अपने डिपार्टमेंट में इस तरह के सेशन करें। अभी मुकुल जी से बात हो रही थी, हम लोग पहले भी काम कर रहे थे कि ऑल इंडिया सेशन किया जाए। हम लोगों ने कई सेमिनार्स किए भी हैं ऑल इंडिया लेवल पे, हमारे एसोसिएशन ने किए हुए हैं। हम शीघ्र ही यूपी में भी इसको करेंगे और ये मेरा सौभाग्य है कि आज मैं आप लोगों के बीच में हूँ, मुझे थोड़ा बहुत सुनने का मौका मिला। धन्यवाद।
IPM इंस्टीट्यूट के बिहाफ पे सर मैं आपका शुक्रिया अदा करूंगी कि आपने अपने कीमती समय में से थोड़ा वक्त हमारे लिए निकाला और इस ओकेजन को ग्रेस किया। थैंक यू सो मच एंड आई वुड आल्सो लाइक टू थैंक मुकुल सर फॉर इनवाइटिंग अस ऑन आवर बिहाफ एंड नाउ आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट डॉक्टर अमित सिसोदिया जी टू वंस अगेन प्रेजेंट अ स्मॉल मोमेंटो, अ टोकन ऑफ लव टू डॉक्टर मिस्टर R.S. त्रिपाठी जी। प्लीज सर।
Yes, well, sir. So I have come up with this idea of holding a national seminar on GST because this is a burning topic which has been underlying in the minds of intelligentsia of India, but it has never got this kind of forum to discuss ideas among consultants and other industry academicians and retired bureaucrats. So it was a really wonderful experience, enlightening session during the day, and I'll just take you all through the sessions that we had during the day and briefly sum up the things so that you can articulate them in a notepad and use them for your further references. And most importantly, what Mr. Raizada just told, that this is the right time for the industry people to liaise with the government before this GST is implemented. And firstly, the morning session is a presentation that has been perhaps imbibed in our minds and students alike, that the dual system of taxation, the cascading effect of taxation have to be ruled out, and for that GST is absolutely necessary. And there were numerous examples were given which were very fruitful, and it basically clarified the things in our minds that excise and VAT and service tax, how they are related, who controls what. But in the outline we should be clear that the discussion should be on differentiating between the GST design aspect, who is empowered to tax what, like empowerment issues and GST design issues. We have to bifurcate these two things first of all. then we will have a better idea like whether we are going for a duplication in tax or is it a unified tax. Then we had some valid suggestions by Mr. Mittal that IT-based system in India is very much necessary, and before GST is implemented, and fully trained government employees have to be there before it is full-fledgedly adopted in our systems. And then there is misuse of powers by tax authority, government officials. That is a topic beside this core GST topic, but nonetheless, this was very well taken by the audience. And then there was an address by Mr. Bimal Jain, co-chairman, Indirect Tax Committee, PHGCCI. He gave us a quite realistic picture of what is happening around us, a bit gloomy picture although, but he touched upon some key issues which need to be addressed by any leader of vision. And the major points that he discussed was of double taxation, service tax and VAT, need and why of GST in India, excise, presently what MRPs, maximum retail price of products, what do they depict? He gave us a very valuable insight into it, like the excise, sales tax and service tax, they are all included in MRP. So once we adopt GST, these all effects will be lessened. So it will be a win-win situation for customers as well as for the business community. Then there's one important topic that came across during the discussion was that related to SIM card. Like in mobile telephones, the SIM cards that we use, it is levied tax once it is manufactured by the central government, and then when it is used in the telephone systems, then again it is taxed by the state rulings. That leads to double taxation on SIM cards. And this is I was having discussion with Shri M.C. Verma, IS officer, CCP Vyas sir. He was telling me that this is a very crucial area which Indian government is facing right now for new budding entrepreneurs as well. When if you want, because it will be taking care of the double taxation part. This is another important informative area that I found that I should share with you. And then other lessons, there are numerous lessons that I have noted down. First of all, that the government should establish credibility on the part that they should not have retrospective effect taxation laws changing. Because if you after certain years you change the tax laws with a retrospective effect, it gives a feeling of to business circles that they are being cheated. Then they formulated their business plans according to a certain policy, and then after certain years you are changing your tax laws with retrospective effect. It doesn't lead to anywhere. So that should be avoided. And then session by Mr. Siddharth Mehta, partner Indirect Taxes, KPMG India. He gave us certain insights into what is clear-cut roadmap for GST if we want to implement it in India, and the proposed framework of GST, and the white paper presented for GST was in way back in 2009, but still we are at discussion stage. What are the problems that we have been facing, but hopefully it will be implemented by say 1st April 2015 or maximum by April 2016. And there are certain negative lists which have been covered under GST. That is, they won't be levied GST, like petroleum products and alcohol consumed by individuals. That will be taken out of the GST ambit. And as of now, there are 300 items in the exempted category of excise and 100 items in VAT. This exempted list should be more worked upon so that the consolidated list is available. So that the idea should be to have a wider base for GST and double taxation should be avoided. That should be the motto. Then there were technical sessions. First technical session was headed by Shri Mukul Gupta ji. and he gave us like tremendous source of information for us, like why GST is required. Entry taxes has to be abolished, like the examples of IOC and Motherware that he gave us, that shows us that why entry level taxes should not be there, and how this center list for taxation and state level GST that has to be properly harmonized, so that there is no problem faced by the business community. Then Mr. Vimal Jain, the speaker in the technical session, he showed us the practical situation problems faced by the customers with tax authorities. Then he highlighted the need for acknowledging that the packages that the firms are adopting in their companies, like ERP solutions that they are having, they should be based upon for any kind of final reporting, and not normal Excels that we make. They should be taken as a yardstick, because Excels are subject to modifications. So that's a very important practical suggestion that we gathered during the discussion. And basic infrastructure facilities, he stressed upon that IT preparedness has to be there once you are having GST in your government setups, plus training to tax authority. And then there was a session by Amrita Mitra. She is my partner in THC Consultants. She discussed about the supply chain logistics and destination. There was a origin principle. Now, how is it different from the destination principle in GST? That she clarified in detail, and that was a very informative session. Like if the goods are being manufactured in UP and being sent to Gujarat or Andhra Pradesh, then the place where they are being sent, that should be the place of actual levy of taxes. GST. Then she talked about the constitutional amendment, 115th amendment, Bill 2011, and then the things like how does your GST affects your cash flows. She gave it through an example in PPT slides, and in that session I noted the 4 basic changes that are likely to occur by adopting GST. So first is the switch over to destination based principle criteria from the origin based. Then second one was taxable event would now be supply of goods. You have to tax the commodity at the time of supply of goods, not at the manufacturing stage or at a later stage, just at the time of supply of goods. Third important change that she cited was that tax incidence will be on the person supplying the goods. The onus of paying the tax will lie on the person who supplies. The next heading she covered was road to GST. How exactly we are going to follow this GST system in India. And for that, 50% of the states have to ratify before it is implemented in full. That's a good thing. And the highest ones are Norway, Sweden, Denmark at 25%, and the lowest being Nigeria. And very informative formula of VAT RR, like VAT revenue rate, which is like actual revenue, actual VAT rate which you are collecting as of now in the numerator, and denominator is the standard rate, which is to be expected after you implement GST. The details can be had later on. Then there was very interesting slide in tabular form, like experiences of 3 countries, Australia, New Zealand and Canada, with respect to the year of introduction and how has been their experience in that category. It's a very informative slide, very concise, and if any of the students they look to it, they will have been like good insights to this topic. Then there are certain points, I won't go to it because they are mostly repetitive in nature. But the major points that Mr. Rajada covered was heat of the hour, supply chain management, the rules which have to be followed while looking at the supply chain. Then what are the challenges of dual GST system, like procurement, manufacturing, sales and manufacturing. And then the key decision areas under GST, like book of accounts have to be suitably modified in advance before we adopt it. And then we have to have better IT system. And the third important point is central GST cannot offset the state level GST and vice versa. Then the recent rhetorics on GST, what we are seeing, and then very important, the industrial people, they should liaise with the government as soon as possible, because this is the right time for this. Then Mr. C. Ashish Gupta, he discussed about the impact of GST on retail industry, existing indirect tax structure, how is it, and what are the rates for services. It is 12%, for goods it is 25%. And then there has to be a reasonable GST structure between these slab rates. And retail sector is under existing economy as a whole. Just a brief snapshot of what I have been.
Member, Faculty of Management, IBM Group of Institutions. On behalf of the ITU family, on this occasion, this seminar on indirect tax was a dream for all of us, which has been realized today. Due to the cooperation of all our eminent speakers and valuable participants, I, on behalf of IPM family, convey my sincere gratitude towards the speakers. Our sincere thanks to guests from industry and corporate, tax bar association, tax authorities, chartered accountants and academia for taking out time from their busy schedules. I am extremely thankful to the IBM management, especially Professor Dr. B.S. Goyal, our Executive Director, for his motivation and support. Our Director General, Colonel Dr. A.S. Malhotra, for providing Sandeep Garg, the core committee members, along with the faculty members of the management department, who have been working hard for last so many months to make this seminar a great success. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to the conveners and members of different committees who have worked very hard throughout the organizing, conducting and participating in this seminar. I extend my thanks to all the representatives of the media for the coverage of this program and seek their continued support. On the operational side, I need to underline the efforts of student coordinators for supporting the program, to all the distinguished guests for your kind presence in this occasion. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. All the guests are requested to join us for a cup of tea before dispersal.